Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Leandra and I just want to thank you guys for choosing to spend some time with me today. Today we're just going to be talking about a wide variety of topics, mostly law school topics. This video technically is advice, but I can't stress enough that I really want this video to be a conversation between me and you as friends. I did ask for questions on my YouTube and I was going to ask on Instagram, then I realized that I've been screenshotting questions you guys have been sending me over the last couple of months from me graduating undergrad and also from me attending the law school that I am at currently, that I just never got back to because of how busy I've been. So I'm just going to be lumping everything in little sections and we're going to try and address everything that you guys have been wanting to know from me. So this first section is just concerning the LSAT. I've gotten a lot of questions about the LSAT, especially since I got into Duke and I've been at Duke for about a month now. And because I am not a pro at the LSAT, that test was really hard. The only way I feel like I can genuinely give tips is by telling you guys the mistakes that I made, especially going into my first LSAT test. I did retake the LSAT. There's no shame in retaking the LSAT. I retook it for a better score because my first time was absolutely terrible, and hopefully these mistakes will help you to not make them. So first mistake was definitely underestimating the LSAT. I've always been a good student, and probably you guys too. We've been going to school for a really long time now. I've always been a quick study. I can teach myself things. I really thought that would easily translate into the LSAT. So I was a little cocky when I decided when I wanted to study for the LSAT, and that led me into making my next mistake, which was timing. Because I was a little bit cocky and I thought, I took a couple of practice questions, I got them right. Mind you, they were untimed and I took all the time in the world to do them. I decided to study for 4 to 5 months, which is a mistake. If I could go back, I would probably study for at least a year, because studying for the LSAT is not linear. It's not linear at all. You will have ups and then you have downs, and it will just keep repeating until you reach that sweet spot where you're scoring either a little bit below or a little bit above where you want to be. I wish I'd given myself time to go through those ups and downs, and I really did not. When I would hit my lows, it would cause me extra stress because my test was literally a month or two away, and I felt like, oh god, I can't afford to hit this low right now. I need to be riding on a high all the time, and it just was so much more stress. So definitely do not underestimate the LSAT. Do not underestimate the LSAT. You might be one of those people who are just super smart at it, like a genius, all of that stuff. I wouldn't wait until 2 to 3 months to figure that out. Take a test earlier on to see if that is you, because more likely that is not you, and there might be something on the test that's super hard. For me, it was logic games. Logic games whooped my ass. As soon as I started doing logic games, it was just a real mess. I would definitely recommend giving yourself time and do not underestimate the LSAT. Next thing is probably being realistic about the way that you study and your study schedule. So I am the type of person that can teach myself things, and because of that, I decided to do 7 Sage at home. I didn't go in a classroom. In retrospect, I would probably save up money to go into a classroom. It's really expensive, and it might not be an option for you if you are someone with lower economic means, and you might have to save up for it. It's upwards $1,000, $2,000 to be able to go into a classroom. But I decided on doing 7 Sage, and it worked for me. But if you are the type of person where you know that you can't self-discipline enough, or you can't teach yourself, nothing wrong with that. You just have to realize it. Don't expect to be able to do it within 3 to 4 months where you're trying to teach yourself how to study and you've never done it before and it just doesn't work for you. Another positive to giving yourself time is if you start self-studying and you realize that this is not working for me, I would like to go into a classroom. If you give yourself enough time, you can do that. Self-studying did work for me, but I think I would have learned a lot more and maybe a lot faster and a lot more efficiently if I got into a classroom. But I just didn't have the time and the money to be able to switch from self-studying to a classroom. Study schedule wise, I had the craziest study schedule planned for myself. I never once in undergrad studied for 10 hours a day, but for some odd reason I thought it was okay to plan to study for 10 hours plus on the LSAT, reading the book, doing all this stuff, and it just was not realistic. I didn't plan for all the other stuff that were going on in my life, things like laziness, family events, just wanted to hang out with my friends, having my little depression naps because I was hitting I didn't plan for any of that. My plan for myself was literally studying every single day for 30-something months for like 5+ hours a day, which is unrealistic. It's an easy way to cause burnout. Be realistic. If you can't study for 5 hours a day, you don't have to. You don't have to study at all. Just know that, so that you are not packing your schedule and then giving yourself burnout and stressing yourself more than you need to be stressed. Another important thing that I wish that I did a lot more of leading into my first test was taking the practice test in test-taking conditions, especially if you're one of those people who are like really scared of tests. Some people just don't like the test atmosphere. It's like really cold. It's like a dentist's office. Everyone's super quiet, and when you go to take your LSAT, it's exactly like that, except 10 times worse. So it just like gives you so much more anxiety, and you can alleviate that by recreating test-taking conditions. It was a little bit harder for me because I was living in a house with like my entire family. It was like a 2-bedroom house and like 5 people are there, and so there's always noise going around. I tried to go to the library and the public library was loud. So another good thing that I wanted to do with going to in-classroom teaching is that I know that a lot of them recreate those test-taking conditions for you, where you can go into the classroom and they will literally time you the exact same way as you would on the test. They'll probably do it in the exact same format too, because I think now the LSAT is on an iPad, so they'll try to recreate everything exactly the same, which is very, very, very valuable. My first test, I freaked out. I got in there and I was tired and I really freaked out. Everyone was really silent and it was just really scary. So test-taking conditions are ideal. If you're doing it at home by yourself, don't give yourself those extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a question, because you're not gonna get that on the test. I kind of did that. I was a little generous with myself sometimes on some questions. On the iPad, something that really scared me is that 5 minutes before the iPad shuts off, because that's what it does, it literally like it shuts off, it takes you completely out of the test when your time is done. The timer goes red, which really messed with my mind, and you don't have extra time. You just do not have extra time. So don't give yourself extra time, because you will start relying on it and it just won't work out in like the long run. Slightly funny tidbit about that too is you can't drink water during the LSAT. So during my first LSAT, I was sitting there nervous as heck and I was so thirsty. Like the nerves were making my throat dry up, and the test started and I could not drink water. So the entire time I was trying to focus on my test and my throat was literally just like burning hot and I could not drink my water. It was like when SpongeBob was underwater at Sandy's house and he like acted like he didn't need the water, but he really did. It was exactly like that. So maybe take a look at the instructions too if it's available to you. Last thing I want to say directly about the LSAT is the focusing on scores. That's all we do, is focusing on scores. You're on the subreddits, you know, our law school admissions or our LSAT or our law school, you're in all those things and they're just talking score. So it's really hard not to focus on scores. My page, my YouTube is a score-free zone. I hate talking about scores because I know how it feels like when you're studying for the LSAT and then you go, or I used to go on like the subreddits and I'll see someone talking about the score I just worked so hard to get to, like it was the worst thing ever, and all I felt was just like shit. Like I was just comparing myself to people and it's not worth it. I feel like as long as you know the school's median, you're fine. Like you should just focus on you. I did so much better during my second test because I stopped stressing. Like I stopped looking at the subreddits and it alleviated so much stress for me. I just stopped stressing out, and this translated to when I went to go take my actual test, because my first time when I went to go take my test, I was with a bunch of people like me who were taking the test for the first time, and we were all like really freaked out and we were just stressing each other out and it just wasn't working. But then the second time I went to go take my test, one, I got lucky because I got to take it on paper, which is initially how I started to study for the LSAT, and I just love taking tests on paper. There's just something like nostalgic about it. It just makes you feel warm and safe. And the people that I took the test with were like older people who had already taken the test before, so they were a lot more relaxed. I talked to them and I was like, oh, are you guys nervous? And they're like, you know, not really, like we'll take the test and it comes out the way it comes out. And I was so happy to be in that environment because that's the type of headspace that I was in. All you can do is your best, and as long as you do your best, then it's worth it. Then you did everything you could do. Also, this talk about scores and not paying attention to scores translate to when you are actually applying to law school, because if I had focused on all of the ways that people were really stressing scores on like all these subreddits, I probably wouldn't have applied to all of the top law schools that I applied to and ended up getting into, including the school that I'm into now, which is Duke. Like, I would have not applied to Duke because I was a reverse splitter. My GPA was a little like below their median, and if you go on there, they're like, oh, I don't know, like you might not get in. And if I had really paid attention to that and given that as much weight as I did the first time I took the LSAT, I would have never have applied, and I would have never have gotten in. So it's like, literally focus on you, and like I said, as long as you are trying your best, it's the only thing that you can do. Entering into the segment of law school application, the first thing I want to make sure you guys know, because I've been getting a lot of questions about this too, is that applying to law school is expensive. Like, I did not know that it was going to be that expensive. It cost me a lot of money. One application specifically for the top law schools can be like $120 something, because you have to pay LSAC, who is in charge of administering the LSAT and getting your application out to the schools, and then you have to pay the application fee for the schools. And for some of the top law schools, it's like $90 something per application, and you have to keep paying it. And we can have an entire discussion about how this is a way for, you know, the legal profession to keep people of lower economic statuses from applying, especially people of color of lower economic statuses from applying, but that is a different conversation. Some schools do waive their application fees, not the top law schools, and you can get fee waivers. I got a fee waiver. Some of my fee waivers were from places like Columbia and Duke, so I got to apply to Duke for basically for free, so that was awesome. But you can also apply for the LSAC fee waiver. Qualifying for that though is really difficult, really difficult. Even if you are like lower socioeconomic status and you're trying to qualify, it's extremely difficult. I think they want you to have like $0 in your bank account or something. It's really difficult. So just make sure that you know that it is expensive and you might need to save some money to apply to law schools, especially if you want to cast kind of like a wide net and you would like to apply to a bunch. I just have a couple of quick rundowns for this too. It's just to make sure that you starting your personal statement early because it takes time to like put it into the system. Also, your letter of recommendations do have to go through the LSAC system and get like it's a whole process, and it does take time, so do not wait until last minute to do it, because you might not get it in time to send your applications. And also just send your actual applications early on. I do think that there is a better chance of getting into a school if you send your application earlier on, because if you send it really late, obviously the spots are going to be taken and you're more likely to be waitlisted as schools. At least that is my opinion. So do send it earlier on. And if you are an underrepresented minority, a person of color, a black person, whatever, shoot your shot. Like, really shoot your shot. Ain't no shame in checking that box. Use your personal statement wisely. Tell your story. Literally shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. If your LSAT score is like there and whatever, if you're reverse splitter, whatever, shoot your shot. Do not be scared to apply. I have also been getting a lot of questions about this next set, which is what to do to prepare or get ahead in law school. A lot of it is from like college freshmen or even high school freshmen who have sent me some really nicely structured emails about this. And for my high school freshmen, all I can say is, dude, enjoy high school. Like, high school is the last time that you are free, and I mean like free. Like, you're free in college, sure, but high school is, you're so free. Like, there's responsibilities depending on your situation, but it's not as much as when you get to college and then when you go to law school or wherever you decide to go. Enjoy your high school experience. The only thing that you should really be worried about is keeping your GPA up and making sure that you do well in your classes so that you can apply to a great college and get in and get a great education. Same thing for my friends in undergrad. You do not need to teach yourself the law while you're in undergrad or high school. You're going to be going into probably massive debt and paying a lot of money to go to law school and be taught the law. I personally feel like there's no need for you to learn the law before you get here. There's no need. All I can really see from that is teaching yourself a specific way to think about the law. It doesn't, depending on what you're trying to teach yourself, and then you get to law school and all your professors are He told me to shut up. But then you get to law school and all of your professors are asking you to do a different type of analysis, and I just feel like that would be really difficult if you've already trained yourself to think about the law in a specific way, and you have 3 people who are asking you to analyze it this way and analyze it this way and analyze it that way. So I don't see any need to teach yourself the law before you get here. Law school is stressful enough. Wait till you get here to really learn the law. But if you are an undergrad and you're interested in going to law school, obviously there is a lot of things you can do in undergrad. I think some schools have moot courts, some schools have law journals for undergrad. I just interned. I did a lot of interning at the district attorney's office and the public defenders, and I really liked my experience there. I'm just personally not the type of person who like structured my entire undergrad for law school directly. That's just not my personality. The basis of this segment is that if you're really interested in doing all this like law school extracurriculars, you definitely can, but I don't think that you need to. I don't think it's required at all because I didn't do them, and I applied to law schools and I got into really good law schools, and I am now a law student. So I don't think you really need to do that. Don't feel like if you're not doing that you're somehow at a disadvantage, because you're not. Personally, from my experience of being in law school for the last month, I'm in a diverse class in that there are people who are like dance majors who took the LSAT, did great, applied to law school and got in. There are people who are older than me who were working, applied to law school, took the LSAT, applied to law school and got in. There are people who did all of the legal stuff, like they did moot court, they did the law journal, they interned with justices who were their family friends or whatever. And then there are people like me who kind of just like interned and did a little bit of everything, and we are all equally confused. So I don't think there's anything that can give you like a leg up, because you get here and we are all equally confused. There's been many times in class that I have had the answer or like the correct way of looking at something or the correct analysis to a question that someone who did all of the law stuff had, or that someone who did none of the law stuff has had an answer to a question that I had or that they had. It's just very much like what 1L year is about. You start at 0. Everyone is confused, everyone is panicked, everyone feels a little stupid, and there's a lot of like inferiority complex going around, and there's no way, I don't think there's any way around that until you get here and you just experience it and you learn how to deal with it. I will include the books down below that you can definitely read, and they give you a nice reference to law school, but nothing beats being here and experiencing this. If you are interested in those legal extracurriculars, then definitely go for it. There's nothing wrong with going for it. But if you're not, there's no need to force yourself to be into it. I will say that you probably should get involved on campus, just because it's great to get involved on campus. And if you're doing it for something that you genuinely love, then go for it. Get a leadership position somewhere on campus, volunteer. I think it's a lot easier to talk about a topic on your personal statement that you genuinely love, instead of something that you forced yourself to like because you thought it would look good on an application. I do think that people can read and can tell when someone is being genuine about an experience. I know that I put my interning experience for the district attorneys and the public defenders on my personal statement because I learned a lot from that, and I could genuinely have a conversation with someone about what I learned there. In relation to struggles of being, you know, a first generation minority law student and the struggles that are associated with that, I definitely think that the inferiority complex is a lot stronger for us, especially if you go to like a higher law school. I've known for a while that people who are more endowed when it comes to like their life, I don't think that's the right word, but that they get more opportunities. There's a difference between knowing that and then coming into law school and kind of being around them, even with just Zoom, and seeing it firsthand. It feels really different, and it can feel a little shitty to hear other people talk about a bunch of stuff that they've gotten the opportunities to do because, you know, they're family friends with a judge, or their mom is a high like class lawyer. Personally, my parents are, you know, they didn't graduate I think elementary school, and they're just like, they're normal people. My dad is like a security guard, my mom works at an old folks home. Yeah, I had trouble filling out my FAFSA because none of them could understand it. It can be very difficult and make you feel majorly inferior that you are in this place with all these people who have been able to do so many things. And then of course, if you're minority, if you're black, there's not a lot of black students at Duke, so that can be a bit weird to go through the Zoom and not see anybody that looks like you. But I've just tried to stick to the student organizations. There's great student organizations here at Duke, and I'm sure at other law schools. There is the Black Law Student Association, the WELSA Women Law Student Association, Women of Color Collective. All of these people have really made it their mission to reach out to students who are like me. I think also, before I forget to mention, there's the First Generation Student Association too, and they're all doing their best to reach out to students who are like me, to make sure that we know that we are not alone on campus, and that we can talk to them about these struggles, because they know it and they get it. It's made me feel so much more comfortable with this experience, in this body, in this skin that I am in, surrounded by a bunch of people who don't look like me and have had much better experiences than me. Also doesn't help too, like I was saying before, when someone tries to throw in your face that they have been able to do all these cool stuff, and you're like, dude, okay. Sure, great, thank you. I've gotten into the habit of saying to myself that despite what they've been able to do and my experiences, we are in the exact same place. We were able to get into the exact same law school, so I really did that, and no one can take that away from me. This one has to do with YouTube and tips about YouTube, how to grow on YouTube, especially if you're like a small YouTuber. It can be really hard because YouTube is very oversaturated with vloggers and whatever, and all I can really tell you is that you need to show up for yourself. You show up if nobody else is showing up. That means that you post videos when nobody's watching, and you are constantly putting out good content even though no one's watching. I was struggling with this last week, where I felt like I was posting content and I was really caught up in the numbers, and I really had to have a conversation with myself about my values and the reason why I even started a YouTube channel. I haven't always had 10K subscribers. If you start a YouTube channel just focused on numbers, it will be really difficult for you to do it like long term. I would advise against starting a YouTube channel for numbers, and just put out content that makes you happy too. Like, don't put out content because you think it's gonna go viral or whatever. Put out content that you enjoy, and I'm telling you, there's so many people on this planet that are interested in a vast majority of things. So if you're interested in something that you think is weird, you're like, someone's not gonna like my video, blah, blah, blah. You're like, dude, post it. Just post it, and you never know. You literally never know. Make sure to not compare yourself to other people, especially like really big YouTubers. Actually, anyone. Don't compare yourself to anyone at all. Just focus on you and focus on putting content that makes you happy. So sometimes when I look back at my videos, I'm so happy with them. I'm like, this is awesome. I put out great content. The editing from the editor is awesome. Like, we're putting out great content right now, and I'm happy with this content. It doesn't matter if 1,000 people watch it. It doesn't matter if 50 people watch it. I am happy with the content. Quick tip about sticking to a routine, because I've been getting a lot of questions on Instagram since I posted my law school routine. I think a lot of them were about just being able to stick to a healthy routine for long term. Oh, hello. So my advice with that is, you don't want to just go like balls to the wall when you start a new routine. It can definitely feel like you want to, because you're riding on this high, and it will go away, and then after that you just haven't developed the habit because you've just been riding on this high, and it can be really difficult to stick to it. I did not start waking up at 5 a.m. at all. That would be completely jarring to my system. My tip for that is to, one, analyze your current habits. If you want to wake up earlier in the day and you analyze your habits and you realize that you're waking up at like 9 a.m. every single day, then you start decreasing over time. So if you wake up at 9 a.m., maybe for the next week you try to wake up at like 8:30, and then the week after that you try to wake up at 8, and then so on and so forth. I started to decrease the time that I was sleeping in by by weeks, I think, and also by 3 days increments, just decreasing the time. And it's just a lot easier because you're developing the habit and you're not like shocking your system by just one day deciding to wake up at 5 a.m. and you're just doing it every single day, and then you lose the excitement for it. And that's for literally anything that you want to do. When I first started really getting into spirituality, I was like really just balls to the wall with it, and it was really hard for me to develop an actual like habit of doing my spiritual practice because I was just kind of just blowing through it. But once I started just increasing the amount of things that I did for it, the amount of times that I meditated, like you might not want to just start meditating every single day because that might not be realistic for you. So maybe if you don't meditate at all, you start doing it every other day, or you start doing it twice a week, and you just keep increasing. And it's just so much easier to build up the habit. It's less shocking to your system. You actually create the habit and you have fun with it instead of just, you know, riding on that high, because it will go down. It will go down. Last question was about friendship. I got a lot of questions about this, precisely because I did like break up with my best friend during New Year's, and that hurt different. I'm not gonna lie, it really hurt different. I thought that breaking up, you know, having a relationship, then breaking up with my boyfriend was really tough, and that was heartbreak. But this like friendship heartbreak is real. Like I never experienced it to that level, like that you can be friends with someone and then when you guys stop being friends, it breaks your heart. You literally mourn it like any other like romantic relationship. It hurts really bad. I think I wanted to make a video addressing that specific topic. I decided not to because it just didn't feel authentic to me, and I had an entire journal prompt about it the other day where I was kind of reflecting about why it didn't feel right. I mean, I wasn't going to get on here and trash anybody. I was just gonna kind of tell my story or just kind of like, you know, talk to you guys about it, and it just really didn't feel right. And the reason that is, I figured out, is because it was always like love from the beginning. It was always love from the beginning. There was never a time where I did not feel genuine love and care for this person. It takes me a long time to get used to people or want to be around someone, and for this particular person, it was always like love and care, and it was always genuine. And I didn't feel right talking about it like that because I felt like that was kind of disrespectful to the friendship, which is really funny considering some of the things that were said on, you know, the other side from, you know, her corner regarding me and all this other stuff. And I could not bring myself to be hateful. I couldn't, like, even at all, even dislike. I couldn't do it. I feel like even though she may have disrespected our friendship, that doesn't mean that I have to. I feel wrong doing it. I do absolutely wish her the best. I still do. I am looking forward to being able to meet, you know, my soul tribe. When it comes, it'll come, and when I meet those people, it's going to be beautiful. Where I was mentally and spiritually, I just wasn't ready for them, but I continued to work on myself. I focus inwards. I can't imagine meeting the type of people that I want to meet now when I was like a year ago in the mindset that I was in, because I don't think I would have been very good for them. And the way that I was thinking and the way that I was going about things, I don't think that I would have been able to help them. I think I would have definitely taken a lot from them, like their love, and I would not have been able to reciprocate in the exact same manner. I definitely think that look inwards and they'll come. And that is it from me, folks. I appreciate every single one of you who, you know, clicks my video and watches and interacts. Like, I love all of you, and I definitely missed out on some questions about spirituality. I realized I just checked my phone and there's a couple questions there about spirituality, but I'll make sure to talk about it in the next vlog. Make sure you subscribe if you want to subscribe and you want to keep hanging out with me. I just be doing me on this channel. I hang out near trees, I do yoga, I go to law school, I stress out, sometimes I cry, and that's okay. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love all of you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.